What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So in this video, I want to talk kind of about life, and our way of like our way of life, the systems and stuff that we've created, um, and how we live. Why do we live this way? And can this ever? Can it? Would could it ever change? Um, Because the more I look at the state of the world right now, um, and the way it's going, the way it has gone, the way looking at history, looking at the present, and considering the future, um, and just asking the question why, um, because I think it's I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to think about. So, thank you very much for joining. If you would like to check out more from the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. That'd be amazing. Helps out tremendously. If you want to check out more from my other channels, there's JMD Drummer, Play, Puzzling there. If you like what you see there, subscribe to them as well. All that is amazing, and which help out, again, with them tremendously. All that's free. So, consider that would be amazing. If you want to go further, there's Patreon up there. $2 a month, support any of the channels that you like. To help grow those channels, help grow Patreon, help grow JMD Nation. And contribute to that how you would like to. There's merch link there. pinkinnovations.com/collection/JMD merch. I have merch for every single channel. All right. If you're a Patreon member, you get a discount for the merch. And if you like it, then get it. That would be amazing. All right. I would be so cool to be sent pictures and videos or whatever of people wearing JMD merch. That would be like sort of surreal, I think, a little bit. But yeah, check that out. But any kind of support you decide to give is very much appreciated. Thank you very much. And if you are returning, you're freaking amazing. Okay, you're amazing. Welcome back. Keep coming back. So, all right, life. And this is, I often say when I'm talking about this channel that we talk about politics, religion, life, things like that. But I feel like it's been so driven on politics for a while now because there's so much to really talk about when it comes to politics. That I wanted to try to change it up a little bit. I want to try, or not change it up necessarily, but like try to actually meet that description of this page by talking about life a little bit. Because when I've been doing the politics thing, or really diving into politics for a while now, for quite a few years, and really trying to understand the dynamics of politics, from different versions, different directions, different concepts, trying to understand the parties, the history of the parties, where they previously sat, where they sit now, the history of other parties, why we are sitting in the current political system, governmental system, economical system, that we sit in, the differences in all the different economical systems and governmental systems, and blah 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 blah. Why each, and understanding the dynamics between that globally. Trying to get a true understanding of all of this shit. Right? I did a deep dive years ago into religion and started doing this in religion, and it's the reason why I eventually walked away from religion, because I was trying to look back at the history, origins of it, and trying to understand where religion come from, and thinking about it reasonably, and rationally, and thinking about how life would have been, to the most earliest state, right? Like, and how we would have, where the concept of religion would have come from, and and it's what ultimately brought me to the opinions that I have today when it comes to religion or life in general around religion. And I've kind of done the same thing sort of in politics. I'm trying to understand, break it down. I haven't went to the full extreme that I probably need to, but as far as like historically, but um, but understanding the current state and being aware of the current state and being aware of understanding propaganda, understanding agendas, understanding or trying to understand rather, I guess, the purposes of in the dynamics around who is in control or who might be in control or who wants to be in control, um and how that like affects um everybody else in the world. Us as regular people, because I'm a regular guy out in the middle of rural Mississippi, United States. Okay. I've never had a crazy amount of money or anything. I'm, barely working class, and um, understanding like that my life and how I was brought up and how we are kind of molded into the systems that are already put in place and have been put in place and have and altered from time to time, and understanding who is altering them, why they're being altered, why do we live the way we live, and is this really beneficial? Like thinking about, does this really help me live a life? Like, what's the purpose here? Because when you look at it from a religious standpoint, and you're thinking about it when you are hyper religious, you're living your life for a certain purpose that's engaging in that religious idea. But me now not having that and not interested or not having like some sort of fundamental purpose, then I'm left with like, okay, well then just the regular mechanics of life. What are we here for? What are we doing? And for a while, it was just like, okay, I'm no longer worried about God. I'm no longer worried about heaven or hell. I'm not worried about the afterlife. I'm worried about the life I'm having right now and making sure that I'm living that life the way I would have liked to or whatever. And for a while, it was more focusing on the things that are important in my life, which is my family, my kids, most of all, and, friends, loved ones, things like that, communications, relationships, because that seems very important. But then, when I started diving into the politics side and started trying to concern myself with the grander, the more, instead of the micro thoughts, the more macro, all encompassing idea around like compassion and caring for humanity at large, and trying to really think about all the things that are going on in any given area of the world, any given country, any given situation, any given conflict, any given, and what people are dealing with. And I think it really, and it really come to this is, and this is not to overshadow or like make light of or forget or not include, like any kind of conflict in history before now that has had catastrophic outcomes, right? I mean, it's not in any way trying to make light of any of that. But when, and like that wasn't important enough for this to click or something. But it was when the events of October 7th and then everything that I've seen since in Gaza. And while, yes, it kind of loosely started with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, but it really came to light with Gaza because it's such a even more extreme, I think, concept here, um, of a group of people that, when you look at the history, it quite literally is that these group of people and everybody that lives there, the majority of their life, the generations that do live there, the majority of their life, they have lived under, a quite brutal occupation, um, and are controlled by something that's external to their existence, external to their sovereignty, external to their, or the lack thereof, really, but and somebody else having control of them. And while that, again, it's not to make light of any, because that happens in a lot of different areas in the world. But it was really just seeing that, again, Gaza being the largest open air prison concept, that these people were literally under full control of another country. And they do not have freedoms. They do not have freedom of going places. They have freedom of living life outside of what they literally have within a, small area of land, that I've previously equated to, like, since I live in Mississippi, to like Jackson, Mississippi, maybe adding in like Pearl or Madison or something like that. Like, it's a very small piece of land. To think that I, have lived 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years confined to a location that small and never able to go outside of that, and always living under the threat and concern of resources being cut off, or concerns of that external control deciding to shoot and kill me at any point, because that's literally what they've done. Or even the concerns of the internal gangs and frustration and control that is trying to, like, have some sort of legitimacy, or, whether it's power and control of sources that might be coming in, or power and control over, or even if we're arguing the more positive thoughts here, is like resistance against this opposition that, ultimately, unfortunately, oftentimes comes with a much stronger response, because clearly they can't technically overpower or outdo the opposition, aka Israel, because, I mean, Israel's backed by the fucking United States of America, right? It's seeing all of that and seeing what has happened since, and the brutality of it. And quite literally, the only thing that I, as far as my, before now, as far as my knowledge and understanding of history, battles, conflicts, the most recent actions that could even remotely equate to this was World War II and the Nazi regime, and what they did to Jews in Germany and Poland and whatnot. And trying to, like, truly get and understand that. and understand that I'm living where I'm living. I've lived the life that I've lived, and I've not had to be concerned with that. I've never had to be concerned with that. And then wondering, like, what kind of system have we created? I mean, we argue here about, worrying about prices of things, access to things. We have the superficial shit as well of, the rich and famous. We've had all that, like, and the stupid arguments over that kind of shit. Like, but thinking fundamentally about, like, what is the point, right? Like, we've been molded here as everybody else is molded everywhere else as well, in different systems across the world, to be put into this mechanism of economic support of these systems, productive support of these systems, but at our own, like, cost, at our own cost of the labor and in time, and and that becoming so strained on us because of leaderships and people in power and control, placing more of that strain and productivity on us, but not really, in a system that is about, production and consumerism, profitability, and the motivation for that profit to go to the businesses, for it to go to the leaderships, the ones in power and control, and hoping that they will decide some way, form, or fashion to then divide that to the people that have contributed to that, but by their rules and by their means or their discretion or whatever. And I think, like, why have we created this system? It's not like this system has always existed. I mean, clearly, there was a time, maybe, who knows how long ago, where it wasn't like that. Yes, maybe we didn't have communication like we do now. Maybe we didn't have the productivity of the types of, like, resources and stuff that we have for personal, things, clothing or whatever. They like, we didn't have corrective type stuff to guide and help us, or in what, like, we were talking about glasses, hearing aids. Like, we didn't have those types of things. We didn't have that productivity or whatever. We didn't have the benefits. But at some point in the past, it was like you lived to just live, right? And I mean, yes, there was certainly was a survival instinct there, because, and from the beginning, because there's so much out there that could, kill you, right? The wilderness of thought. And we've managed to find ways to manage that and to make it easier to live, right, throughout our journey of this life, generation to generation, millennial to millennial, whatever. But at some point we created this system, where, and it's been this way. It's changed. The look of it has changed. You know how you see businesses will put out a product, and they change the way the box looks, right? And they put on their new look, same product. It's kind of the way I feel life has become. The whole system. It's like just a new look, but the same shit. Um, we've just put a new face on it. We've just changed who all is affected by it. And why did we do this to begin with? It falls again. You can't do nothing but look back at history and think it was the powerful, the haves and have-nots, right? The ones that were in control, the ones that had power, the ones that had means, the ones that had influence, had support, had the backings, and to control, take advantage of those that didn't have the means. And they've created systems around that. And that system has changed. The system is altered. The system is taken every technological, scientific advancement and understanding of the world and matter and materials and innovations and whatever, to maintain and control that control and continue to hold down everybody else. Like it's the greedy and wealthy that are controlling everything. And while for a while, looking back, the survival instincts, the fight or flight kind of thoughts when the survival instincts of humanity, I can kind of excuse or think that, I could understand why this system was put in place years ago, because the ability for resources, the ability for survival was, harder, was scarce. We were, the lack of understanding and knowledge of things. But like, as of now, we have knowledge, we have understanding, we have science, we have technology, we have all the means of being able to quite literally provide for everybody. It's not really that there's a scarcity anymore. The scarcity really even before would have only just been the knowledge of the unknown, right? And not having the knowledge of how to find resources. So therefore there was like this skewed thought of scarcity, right? But now we have access to anything we want, really. We can provide any way we want. We have technologies that we know could provide for everybody. And everybody be able to live comfortably. Everybody be able to live well and be provided for and have all the means necessary to live. But yet, we still maintain this controlled system. I mean, the rich and powerful, at this point, it's no longer about them surviving, like them doing what they're doing and using the masses to survive. It's quite literally just using the masses to gain control and notability or like fame, to break records. Like, what is the point anymore of this system? Especially when this system hasn't learned or decided to actually provide for everybody. It'd be one thing if the argument here is that, okay, yeah, nobody's worried about, like, the rich are not worried about surviving anymore. It's just not about them trying to, have all means or anything like that, because they literally have that already. And if they were, like, why are they not providing for everybody? Why are they not making sure everybody is good? Why is there, at this point, seemingly a plan or a carelessness, I guess, to not provide for everybody or not give means and systems and to everybody. Like it's weird, I feel. And I'm not acting like the rich have to just make it to where we get to live free or give, like, that's not my argument here. It's just the fact that we see the data here of the last few decades and whatever, that there is a continuation, once again, not learning. We've talked about this before, not learning from the past, that we are continuation of the rich just taking everything, taking all the money, taking all the wealth. And there's less and less and less resources and ability for those us regular people to live, to have a life, to provide for ourselves. It's becoming harder and harder and harder. More things are more expensive. We're not getting as much pay. We're producing more than ever, but we're not reaping the benefits of this. We're not reaping the benefits of that, of our own productivity. And well, that in itself seems like a very first world argument, first world concern, especially when we're looking at things happening where they're happening in certain parts of the world, and like whatever. But I don't even know. My point here is that why do we live in this system that we live in when it could be so much different? I mean, yeah, to argue that it should have always been different, maybe that would have been great. But at some point, you would think that once we had gotten to a point where we could actually have the technology, the science, the ability to provide for everybody, that there's no more of an argument of scarcity. That we would have actually done that. Like, why is there still concerns over homelessness? Why is there still concerns over poverty? Why is there still concerns over disease? Why is there still concerns over food shortages, water shortages? Like, we have the means and ability, the technology, everything, to provide for everybody, to fix and work out these issues, and try to even future-proof issues if we wanted to. And yet, the ones in power right now, the ones that have been in power, whether we're talking about the rich and wealthy or even leadership, doesn't seem to care about that. Don't seem concerned about that. That's not even really an option. It's like they are so detached from the realities of how everybody lives, whether we're talking about the first world problems or even anybody else that certainly probably has it worse. Like, it's the argument like the progressives have been making for a while now. Why in the richest country in the world do we have homelessness? Do we have the health outcomes that we have? We don't have universal anything. We don't have we haven't fixed the homeless issue. We haven't fixed the mental health issues, or at least made movements and progression to try to alleviate that, try to improve it, try to reduce it. And we have a system set up where neither party is concerned with that. I mean, really concerned about it. One party half-ass concerns about it, and the other one completely goes against it and doesn't care whatsoever. They are completely 100% in the pockets of the rich and wealthy. So, like, what's the purpose in our life now? For religious people, apparently, it's clearly still, there's an underlying like reason. But for everybody else, and even probably religious people too, when you're looking at solely outside of the religious concept and argument, what is this life really for? What are we doing? Why are we still living the way we are? Why are we still accepting the outcomes that we have? Is the entire world so nihilistic? Like, is that that we don't think it can change? Like, the argument is always to try to continue working within the system and just improving the system. But at some point, we got to start looking and questioning the system altogether and whether it is actually beneficial for humanity at large, especially where we currently sit right now. This profit motive, corporate, wealthy CEOs and world of billionaires and trillionaires, and like their determination to continue their growth exponentially while not truly providing solutions for everyday people. Like, it's not benefiting whatsoever. It's not fixing anything. It's not making the world a better place. If anything, it's making it worse day to day to day to day, creating worse outcomes on a day-to-day basis. Not only here in the United States, but everywhere else in the world. What are we doing? Why is the systems at play still at play? And will they change? Well, at first, could they change? Could they actually change? I feel like, yes, they could. Now, the argument would clearly, in discussion, would clearly need to be about how. And there are different options to that. But could it change? Yes. But then the next question would be, will it change? And that is going to create the battle between those that want it to change and those that want to just continue the status quo. Status quo. I guess coup is a bad way of saying that. Which would ultimately be the rich and wealthy, more than likely, and those that they have brainwashed to think that making sure that they maintain their status and control is the ultimate benefit for humanity. And how strong is the will for it to change as well? And I think what we've seen happen over the last few decades, what we're seeing happen currently, even with like the thoughts of Gaza and other areas, and the leadership and what's being put out there, the lies that are being constantly placed out there, understanding that leadership is completely unconcerned with our lives. I mean, our president's, stated multiple times he doesn't care. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about our financial situations. He doesn't care that prices are high. He says, get over it. Um, they don't care even about what is supposed to be the most revered parts of the society and like our military. They don't care about the conditions that they are having to deal with right now. They are even excusing it off and acting as if it's not even happening when we clearly have evidence that it is. They don't care. They don't care about lives. And it's not even concerning or caring about like the lives of other military people, other, combatants or anything. It's not even a care for innocent people. There's no concern about life at all. The leaderships don't care. It's quite literally, you're just another number. You're just another cog in the wheel. You're just a, expenditure. And when we're living in a society, in a world, in a system where the ones in control and the ones on top quite literally do not care about you, you are literally just an ends to a means to an end for them, then what are we doing anymore? And again, I understand the argument is like, well, that's the way it's always been. But why is it still that way? Like, I can see arguments again that before, you could argue there's a survivability to it. But is that really the case still? Can't possibly be the case still. So what's the argument anymore? Why are we allowing it to continue happening? It's just things that I've been thinking about and wanted to bring up and talk about. Wanted to get your opinion about and thoughts about. So yeah, there it is. Thank you for joining me, and let me know what you think. Because I feel like something's got to give. Can how much longer can society go living this way? How much longer can these systems continue? Because I feel like we're just ultimately moving our way to our demise. And for what purpose? Uh, Thank you very much for joining me. And until next time, peace. JMD, ClearTalk. I'm out.